Hey there, everyone. Michael Damon back for another episode of Stand Up and Shine! And chill, too. We also chill here. And also, I'm sitting down. And just welcoming you back to episode 3. Can't believe it's already been 3 episodes, so I'm doing this on a weekly basis to kind of keep everyone up to date on the efforts of Starbeam 1. And we're going to get to it here and go through basically like an agile stand-up, even though, yes, I am sitting down. And we'll see how that works here. Let's begin. All right, so, starting out here with Hide the Pain Harold, one of my favorite memes of all time. And I can't do it justice, but I definitely feel like him a lot of times, and especially that's here with, especially with reporting bugs. That's exactly how I feel. Just, having a lot of pain, but also really being good at hiding it sort of thing. But I kind of include him in this slide because I was getting ready to do my statistics, and the sec server, or seek or sec, I always call it, I think you're supposed to pronounce it seek, but I've always pronounced it sec inside my head until now. But the server, anyway, that's basically the diagnostics reporting server that I use to get the statistics, got corrupted and stopped working. So I had to go through and rebuild it, basically all the queries that I had for that to get some of the statistics. And so, I've been talking about having basically a dashboard that I show instead, and I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm getting close. It's getting closer, and so hopefully this will be the last week where we show these numbers. But I had to bring in Hide the Pain Harold to kind of show that off. I think Hide the Pain Harold is going to be a permanent fixture here, especially with the we'll see here with the friction points. Okay, so stand up is what did you do? And what are you working on, and what are the friction points? But getting to the first point here, what did I do? I kind of, last week I kind of was talking about how there's just all these different things with social media, with Facebook, and all these distractions, basically. And it was really difficult to settle down. And I kind of had that continue into this week. I got a little bit of a Twitter discussion with someone, and it's one of those things, as I age and get more experience in life, the only opinion that I learn that I should have is the one that I keep to myself. And I kind of diverged from that with Twitter and gotten into a little bit of discussion. I'll post it in the description here in the YouTube to kind of let you see how I it's not that big of a deal, but it's just one of those things where once you start getting into a conversation with someone, it's like, all right, and especially with how bad Twitter gets, right? It's kind of, you kind of be mindful of the time that you spend, and I'm definitely very mindful of that. But another thing that happened was getting support and getting customer feedback. And so those things kind of happen. I have them in 2 separate items there, but having to support the product, there were some issues that were found, so I had to address them. But we'll get into the customer feedback as well. But the other thing, too, is DevOps. I'm pleased to say we finally have a staging environment and a testing environment, and not in that order. Actually, it was implemented in that order, but how you deploy is not in that order. But so what happened was going through staging, and I started getting into the groove. I started getting into the zone a little bit, and I was like, well, while I'm here, why not just do how it's supposed to be done? And that's kind of what you look for, right? It might take a little while, and it took like basically a week and a half to get to this point. But once you're there, once you get in the zone, you got to take advantage of it, and that's what I did. So now we've got a testing environment, we've got a staging environment, and we've got a production environment. And when I check in or commit code now, it does continuous integration to the testing environment, and it fully deploys everything to that testing environment. I even have an offline mode now, so everything gets taken offline, and it shows you really kind of a interesting offline screen for in maintenance, and then does all the work. And so what this does is it accounts for like database changes, right? So we don't want people using the applications or running processes when the database changes. So that's what this accounts for, is it takes everything offline, and this is actually just a mode. This is like the kind of like the most involved or disruptive mode, but I deployed every commit on a check-in now, and that goes to the testing environment, and then automatically with each and every commit. That's how you're supposed to do it with continuous integration and continuous deployment. So that's what I do. And then after that is done, there's all these different builds that can be applied to that. So the next step is to go into staging, and staging is configured exactly like the production environment, except for a few modifications, but it has its own database and it's configured just like the production environment. And so what that allows us to do now is kind of deploy things to see how, just to get some sort of level of confidence of what's going to happen, because there could be database changes, right? And so we're going to see how that impacts that environment. And then once that is completed and we're okay with that, then we can deploy to a production environment. So all of that's in place now, and I'm very, very happy with it. There's a few things I need to attend to, with the like the offline scenarios and things of that nature. There are a few things I still need to test through, but for the most part, we now have 3 environments, and they're all configured pretty much the same. And so they're all behind a virtual network. So I took time to go through that, because when I first did this, part of the apprehension was that each and everything that I added to Azure was expensive. So every cost, every little thing that I added, like private endpoints and things of that nature, is going to cost money. Well, now that I'm part of Microsoft for Startups, and I'm part of the Founder Hub program, I don't have to worry about that for now. For the next year, and we might be able to get an extension on that. I have to find out. But for the next year, I don't have to worry about costs. So this is a really good chance to kind of add everything to see exactly what we're going to need to have this kind of environment. And then going forward, we can say, we can have a better idea of how much it's going to cost. And then, if it's too much, we can kind of pull back a little bit. But that's sort of what we have now, and I'm really excited about that, and really, really happy that that's finally done, because it's just taken a long time, like, to deal with the distractions and get into like the groove. Right? That's where I'll be talking about that into the effectiveness level. Okay, finally, the last thing I got in was drawing schedule. So now I have, one of the things I'm going to be doing here is I'm not taking a salary, right? All the money I'm going to be making is from selling art on this product that I built. That's how I envisioned it, and that's how I'm going to be implementing it, and that's the plan. And that's in order to do that, I need to produce art. So now part of the every night, every evening, starting about 4 o'clock, if you can call that evening. It's an evening on my schedule, and I just start drawing. So I've got a tablet. I've got an Wacom One, and it's what I use now. It's basically like right now I'm at 2 to 3.5 hours sort of just drawing, and I'm posting it whenever I'm done. Each and every night I'm posting that to Facebook and Twitter. And I'll probably get into LinkedIn as well, because I'm wanting to promote there as well, and maybe some other places, maybe Instagram. I'll probably get on that. I just again, just managing all the time that's involved with that, right? So that's kind of the key thing, because that's how I'm making money, right? And that's like a really important 2 or 3 hours to invest, because that's how I'm going to be making money with the system. All right, so now let's move on to what I'm doing. Okay, so here's the schedule now. Just kind of, I'm just showing you my Excel spreadsheet. I do all my planning from Excel. I couldn't find a really good program that does this. Just basically take the cells of all the hours or days remaining in a task and just eyeballing it and adding them up. No, all these programs that were charging all this money, none of them did this. And so I just made my own. And so just using Excel, right? And kind of going with a low cost route here. It's the name of the game as a startup. And so the yellow is the feature that I'm working now, which is the preview alpha features. And then I've got that starting at line 344 there is the breakdown, and estimates are by days. So I don't get much granular than that. I just do an eyeball of, half a day, a full day, day and a half. It's kind of how I estimate things. I don't try to get any more fancy than that, because it just leads to problems, I found. And so, and also kinds of helps with momentum and morale at the end of the day. Pardon the pun. So what I'm working on now is DevOps. So I've just got done. Mostly it's done. I just need to test it a little bit more. I got like a 3/4 of a day, which probably means a day. It's probably a day, maybe a little bit longer than that, just to, go through, because one of the things probably missing from that is the pipelines. So, it's DevOps, right? So it's the it's the building and releasing. And then the releasing has its own set of workflows, and it's kind of different from the build. So I'm just learning all of that, right? I'm the only person on this project, and I'm doing everything. I've got a hat for every role. And so, that part of that is the DevOps, and that has 2 parts of it. It's the build and the release. And so now it's just really getting those releases down. And I found that with the swaps, I was saying with a difference, you can have different environments, then you can swap them. They take a long time. And so now it's basically like a 20-minute build right now. So if you take things offline and then you do the swapping and then bring them back online, it's like 20 minutes. And that's a long time because each swap is like 90 seconds, anywhere from 90 seconds to 2 minutes. It's a really long time. And, and I have them for, I got, this is for like the most involved or most disruptive process, right? So you have to take everything offline, and that's a swap. And then you've got to go and deploy and then swap that back into production. And then I have to take what's stored in maintenance, if this makes sense, swap it back so that in case I had to do a reswap. So there's a lot, it's actually really involved. But what this protects against is doing something that's like a database change and, oh no, there's a big problem with it. And hopefully we catch it in staging. But at that point, we're kind of in a difficult spot. So we're trying to stay away from that, but we now have the ability to take things offline in case things get really hairy. Okay, so moving on here. The other thing I'm working on is that dashboard. I want to get that dashboard. So, that's kind of a priority here because that's one of the slides here. It's just, I want to take you through the site. Anyone will be able to view this any time of day and just see it live right from the site. So it's like a transparency thing as well. So there's a lot of value in that. And you'll be able to see all the stats I showed in that first slide there and, see a little bit what's going on, based on totals and for the past 7 days, which is kind of what's important here is for a stand-up. It's because I'm going to be using that. And then finally, working on customer feedback. So I really didn't get into that, did I? But I had an awesome conversation with a customer that was using this service or just trying things out, and really great feedback. Cody is his name, just had a great meeting with him and Jay, my friend, and we just really just had a lot of very productive meeting out of that. A lot of feedback from that, and just there's a really good feedback. And so I just have a whole list of things I need to go through, and it can be broken down into 2 segments. One is the front page and the customer, right, and the collector. So that's what I want to work on first. And then there's the other feedback because Cody's a creator, and that was one of the part of the feedback was that it's too complicated right now. So I've been thinking about that, and I have a really good idea around that to really improve that, and that's going to be coming up in the next week. But that's sort of what I'm going to be looking at, and that's sort of getting the kind of taking the ones I can accomplish first and working on those first, and then I'll get into the more involved ones probably next week. All right, let's move on to the next slide here. Okay, friction points. Hide the Pain Herald, I think he's just going to be a staple here. He's going to be a staple to this slide because this guy is how I feel each and every time I do a bug report. Every time I do a bug report, I feel like this guy. I have so much pain. I am having grief of some sort. It's interrupting my day. It's interrupting my workflow. It's interrupting everything about my life right now. And I'm going to put on a happy face and be a professional and submit it. And hopefully it doesn't come across, negative or mean. It's turned into a game, actually. That's how because I used to not be that way, right? And I think I've gotten into that with the introduction videos where, I used to be an entitled brat, and I would just really just get into it with people, especially with Microsoft, because there's a lot of developers that think that way too. It's not just me, but it's just a mentality of you guys are Microsoft, you are top dogs, you are a corporation, you have all these stockholders funding you, you write all this broken software. What is the deal? And that's the mentality. It's a mindset, and they do kind of have a point. But again, it's you can be right about something, but wrong in how you express it. It's another kind of idiom that I've been using, but it's kind of like how I look at it. But it's also at the end of the day, it's how you treat people, and that is a huge value. It's just something that you learn as a human being, especially a mature human being as you mature through life, and that's something that I've definitely learned. And I've learned that through these feedback systems, through these bug reporting systems, because I don't think I would have gotten it and learned as much as I have about that quality or that value as much as I have through these feedback systems. So I can go on and on about that. And that's kind of, kind of wrapping that up. It's sort of Hide the Pain Herald because that's how I feel. But I also learn a lot of things through it as well. So it's kind of a joke, but kind of not. Okay, I'll try to get into the actual friction points here real quickly. I know I'm taking a lot of time here. That might not be a bad thing. It is catching up for a week's worth of work. But just Microsoft real briefly, the DMP file is not getting to you. It's really becoming, it feels like a dozen also, okay, yeah, like 10 to a dozen reports that I'll report, and half of them actually get through because the other half are not making it because of this issue, and it's just really becoming a huge pain point, hiding the pain for sure. And so the other thing that's happening is debugging, and this is with Preview 17.2, Preview 1, and it's just the debugging is just really terrible, and it's new, and it hasn't happened before, where I'll just start up, and then it'll take like a minute. I'll put a cursor in the IDE, and it'll take about a minute before it actually shows up, and it's just becoming a really big hassle to do any sort of debugging. But that's sort of Microsoft there. And JetBrains, I need to kind of start pinging on that thread to get a little bit more clarity on what's going to happen with Blazor development, because it's starting to become a concern. Are you going to put more resources into this, or what's the idea there, or what's the plan? Just get some more context around that. So that's JetBrains, and then the other ones, you can tell they're kind of growing a little bit. And getting back to the OAuth thing, we talked about that before, where that's kind of Twitter. You've got this Twitter account, and you get suspended because you said something that violated their policy, or someone didn't like you or something. Now, does that impact your ability to sign in with Starbeam One? And no one can answer it. It's kind of concerning, because this is Twitter, right? It's another one of those things of that attitude of, you guys make all this money, you have all these stockholders, you're worth billions and billions of dollars, and you don't have the most basic support. In fact, I have to go on a community thread, this forum system that isn't really actually Twitter support, because Twitter doesn't actually have support. And it's like, you make all this money, but you don't have basic customer support. I don't get it, sort of thing. And so I can go on and on about that, but I will not. I will hide the pain like Harold here and move on to PayPal. And PayPal was a really bad experience with their customer support. I tried to send money, but there was a flag that was on my account, and then it wasn't displaying the reason for it. It just said that something was wrong. And I was thinking, okay, well, I'm going to add a debit card, and I'll just take the fee. I'll just, take the hit on the fee, which is, it's higher for the debit card. And so, then I'll just go back to customer support and ask for a refund. Well, guess what? Couldn't do it. They had all these reasons for doing it, and it all came down to there was a flag that had a security flag on your account. It wasn't displayed. It was never presented to me. There was never like, your account is under review. If you please be patient, wait until the review is over, and you can use this bank account or something like that. Nothing was like that was explained to me, sort of thing. And so you could just tell kind of the frustration there. And finally, I got a voucher. For that, but I couldn't see it because it turns out, and this is back and forth, it was like half a day with PayPal support, and the support representative unfortunately was not very good. Usually they're pretty friendly, but this one was just having a bad day or something, but it just was not very helpful at all, which is really, really different, right, for PayPal. Especially, I've never had this happen before, because they've all been really good up until this, support agent. But anyways, with the business account, you can't see these vouchers. And so there's like this whole system, and it's like another one of those things where it's like, you guys are worth billions and billions of dollars. You have all these stockholders, and you don't have these agents that understand your system, and it takes forever to figure out what's the most basic things, right? And I'm looking at Harold here, kind of agreeing with me this entire time. And then finally, just get really quickly into Azure. Just had some problems. You'll see them in the description. And the thing with Azure, I try to keep in mind with Azure, a lot of things work, right? And that's kind of what I also try to keep in mind. It keeps me away from getting really frustrated with technology companies, because there's a lot of things that do work, and it's really impressive. And that's what I try to keep focused on. But with Azure, there seems to be a bit of a pattern that occurs with these issues that aren't supported. And they all start with like a GitHub thread that says, yeah, we're working on it, or it's on its way. And it was like from 4 years ago. And then you start scrolling through the GitHub comments, and you can see like over time that that was a lie, right? It didn't intend to be a lie, but that what they said was not true, because you just keep going through the timeline there, and you can see that they just haven't got it fixed, and then it ends up getting closed for some obscure reason or whatever. It's just like, come on, really? But they do such great work anyways. There's a lot of things that do work, so I'm not too irritated with that, but still there are some things where it's like, in this case, it's sort of a security issue, because now I've got my testing and my staging and my production, but they're all on the same virtual network. And that's a limitation. That's a limitation of Azure. And that's a security issue, because someone gets a breach into that network, they've got access to, all the other ones as well. So, or they can have access to, all the devices that are on that network as well, which is everything right now. So it's a kind of an issue for me. But that sort of something that happened. And finally with Sec, that happened this morning, right? Getting ready to do, and Sec's been awesome, right? Sec, or Seek, keeps calling it Sec, because it looks like Sec, but it's Seek. And so I think I mentioned it earlier. So yeah, so Seek is more of it's just an awesome, sequel, sort of the same thing, but it's just been an awesome product. And in this case, it failed me. It failed me on the day of that I needed it, right? I needed it to, set up all of these queries, and it failed. So that's sort of a friction point for me. Okay, let's move on to the next slide here. Effectiveness level. All right, so this is actually a bit of an improvement, right? Kind of, last week I was about at 2, I think it was 2.5. And I keep getting these half numbers. I'm not entirely on the number. I'm 4.5 this week. I'm going to have to adjust this slider to see if I can get the 0.5, because I keep landing on these 0.5s. I'm just not like in a steady, even number, even though 5's not even. But yeah, so that's my feeling, right? So effectiveness is how you're feeling about the project. It's my own addition to a stand-up. Just kind of like, letting your team members know like how you feel, like how effective are you at getting things done. I'm definitely better. It took me a while to get in the zone with Azure DevOps, but once I got in, I was just like, okay, what else can I do? Because I felt like it's like climbing a mountain. Sort of like the best analogy that I can think of is that you get to a certain point and it's just like, okay, now I've done all this work and I'm here. What can I do to what else can I do in addition to all of this? And that's kind of what happened. It's like okay, while I'm here, it's going to be a while before I get back here, and let's see what I can do. And that's why I got the testing in there as well. So yeah, feeling better about things a little bit. I feel like I'm in a really good spot right now. It's really kind of friends and family, and that's really kind of the point of this. Is it's not really trying to go out and like. We want to make sure it works really simple on a really simple basic level. I'm not doing any marketing just outside of, posting to my accounts that have like 100 users at most sort of thing. But it's just getting a sense, like, okay, does it at least work with very minimal usage and, friends and family? And it is so far so good sort of thing. So yeah, feeling a little bit better this week. All right, time to chill. It's my favorite part of the episode. I'm just going to walk through, every week I walk through a feature here and kind of show you part of the application, and hopefully you can try it out as well. Or you can just watch and enjoy, just kind of going through how parts of the application work. Again, this is friends and family. Do welcome anyone that is watching this. If they want to try out, it's going to be the first link to visit in the description of this video if you're watching on YouTube, and you can just jump aboard and try things out. And what we're really interested in is seeing what breaks, and nothing's broken so far so good in that regard. In fact, that's been one of the consistent pieces of feedback, is that everything's been working exactly as intended. There haven't been any major disruptions or errors or anything like that, so that's been really good, and we want to keep that up and kind of get this thing to the point where it'll starts getting more and more people using it, because I think that's when things are going to start showing a little bit of strain, right? We haven't really tested that scenario, and I think when you start getting a lot of people using it, that's when the challenge is really going to start happening. So, but that's not here. That's going to be later. But for now, we're going to demonstrate how things are purchased here on Starbeam One. And here you are. It's the front page, and we have these different products. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click through a few of these to kind of show. One of the things I'm really excited about are these covers. I'm working with an artist, shout out to Marco, doing really good work on these covers, because, part of the thing is when you purchase these digital licenses, it gives you access to that content. So you can't access the content that you purchased until you own that digital license. And so you can't really see what you purchased until you purchased it, until you spent money. So these covers are a good way of kind of showing the user, your potential customer, of what they're purchasing. And so what I've done here, in my case, I'm selling illustrated poetry or illustrated text. And so this is kind of in the same vein as William Blake, if you might know him as a poet. And what he did was he just had these illustrations and he had poetry with it. It's really cool. And it's something I've always wanted to done as well. And when I learned about it, I was like, I'm not alone here. So that's a good reference. And so William Blake, check him out. And so for here, what I want to do is I want to demonstrate what I actually put my time into, and allow you to see what I drew and wrote a little bit, and to get a kind of sense of what this is about. And I'll kind of scroll down here so you can see all of it, and to see it before you purchase it. And that's what these covers do, and they are great. I'm really excited about it, and you can see I already have a few sales here with my fake money, and people are testing the system. Thank you so much, very very much appreciate it. And so that's what these do, is to kind of show what you're purchasing, sort of watermarking, right? So you got this kind of like the perfect design here. You've got the image in the background, you got it watermarked with the text sort of thing. And so we'll get into it next week and what that actually looks like, the content. But for now, we're just going through the purchasing process. And I'm gonna hit the back button here, go back to the front page and kind of show off another one here. So I got 2 of these covers so far, and the idea is to have 20 of them, because there are 20 work days in a month, and you've got 5 work days in a week, and you've got 4 weeks typically, sort of like the comic book schedule sort of thing. And so I'm just kind of rolling with that. And if I have 20, I've got 20 as one for every day of a work month. And keep in mind, I'm wanting to do one of these every day, right? Daily art, kind of putting these out and publishing them. And so these prices, they're so low because that represents 1 day of work. And I get into that for the in the publishing model in the introduction videos. So if you're interested in learning more about that, that's where you can find that. And the idea here is I'm finding 1,111 true collectors who are purchasing a license every day that I purchase it, or to the same value. And so if I sell a product every day for 5 days a week, for 52 weeks of the year, and I get 1,111 people purchasing them at 0.262 flares, which is the currency in Starbeam 1, it's just a US dollar, then I will make my target salary of $76,000 per year. So keep in mind, this is how I'm making money. I'm not making money through a salary. I'm not taking a salary. I'm making money by selling art. So that's how that works. Hopefully that explains that a little bit. And if you have any more questions, just check out the introduction videos. They are in the description of this video if you're watching on YouTube. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to purchase. And the first thing it's going to tell me is that I'm not or I do not have funds. If I wasn't signed in, it would also tell me that, so I have to sign in. But I'm going to keep it a little bit more simple here, and it's going to tell me that I don't have enough funds. So I'm going to demonstrate this kind of a feature flow here, and it's going to take me to the deposit. This is where I'm going to deposit. I'm going to purchase. And so again, this is all fake money. It's like a faucet. I just turn on the faucet, and it gives me that denomination, which is $5 that I chose there. And then boom, you saw how fast that was. There's no gas fees that were involved with that. And the first thing you'll see here is this return to the product. That was $5, right? Okay. Yeah, there we go. I got 5 flares in my account. Now I can look up here too, up at the heads-up display, the HUD. It also tells me how many flares I have, and flares are the currency. Starbeam 1, just $1 US, a fancy way of saying $1. And so now I can return to my product, and I just want to kind of showcase that kind of, so it's kind of taking the user away and it brings them right back. And now I've got the money. And I've got I do have that 0.262, and I'm going to purchase, and I'm going to click on this, and here we are, right? So this is the purchase screen, and it shows me kind of an overview of what I'm about to purchase. And, again, the other kind of interesting thing here, a huge feature, is that the artist, which is me, I'm buying my own art, I'm signed in with another account, they get 100% of the asking price. So I'm going to get that full 0.262, and the way that Starbeam 1 makes money is through this network gratuity. And this network gratuity is just basically a percentage of this. Now, if I don't want to pay it, I can put to 0 and I can provide a comment and it'll let me do that. But the 10%, I took this idea from GoFundMe. GoFundMe starts at 12.5. And so we're doing 10, a little bit lower than that. And I'm hoping, without taking a salary on my part and just really being cognizant of costs, that we can survive on that. And that's kind of the idea here, is we're wanting to build a culture around that 10%. As time goes on, if we do less than 10%, we'll know exactly how much we'll need per purchase. So we're hoping to get a little bit more sophisticated. But right now we're just keeping it simple at 10. And that's what is asked for. And it gives you a total. And we'll hit buy here. And it will take us through the purchasing process. Now there is a sales order in place that was successfully reserved, and it takes me to the screen, and boom, there we go. Now I have my product. And here we are. So now I've got the ability to view that as a transaction. And then I can go into my Star Vault, which is just my collection of other digital licenses. And here we are. And so that's I just want to keep this really simple. This week, I'm going to show the purchasing process. Next week, I'm going to get into what this actually looks like. So what did I actually buy? Well, you'll find out next week. And so that's kind of showing you the purchasing process. And we'll see next week what that actually looks like. Okay, man. Well, I try to keep these short, and it looks like I'm every week is a new challenge, right? It's like pack 5 days. Well, it's actually seven days of work in my case. Pack those 7 days into this really constrained amount of time, and it's a huge challenge. I hope to get better at it for those who are time sensitive like I am, because also keep in mind, it's also taking up my time as well. This is kind of, I have to dedicate an entire day to marketing to get these done, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it brings value to you and you have a little bit of idea about what's happening with Starbeam 1, a little bit more about the product and a little bit about me, because I'm starting to reconnect with friends now after the pandemic. and all that. Just kind of give you an idea of what's going on in my world and what I'm working on. And if you want to get a hold of me, that's a QR code. Those funny looking things down there are QR codes, believe it or not. And you can try them, and it will take you to my Twitter profile. I'm really active on Twitter, for better or for worse, usually worse. And I also have those feedback. You can reach me at feedback@starbeam.one. That's that first QR code there on the bottom. And then you just go to the alpha. It's also, you can click the first link of these episodes. The first link is to try out these alphas, because I'm really wanting to get that feedback to kind of see what works and what doesn't, and nothing really hasn't broken yet. So prove me wrong. And we're starting to get to that point. It's like, okay, it's working too well. We need more people to test it out to see what is wrong with this, because it hasn't surfaced yet. So, okay, thank you for your time. Thank you for all the feedback. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your subscribes. Thank you for everything. It's been awesome. I really appreciate it. And until next time, stay bright. Okay, bye.